Hello, welcome to Environmental Science 316, the U.S. Federal Environmental Organizations. This course will explore the structure, the mandates, and programs of the U.S. federal departments and agencies involved in environmental activities. We will learn the main duties and responsibilities of multiple different agencies. Make sure to review the announcements and lessons. These sections are where you will find course resources, readings, and information about forums and assignments. Before diving into the agencies of interest and what they do, let's first step back to be sure we understand the organizational structure of our federal government. The framers of our Constitution faced a difficult challenge. They wanted to ensure a strong, cohesive central government, yet they also wanted to ensure that no individual or small group in the government would become too powerful. In remedying this challenge, our early founders created a unique and most effective structure. They established a government with three separate branches, each with its own distinct powers, but none more powerful than another in all things. In essence, this built in a checks and balances paradigm and proved to be effective in creating a desirable, strong central government while ensuring a balance of power. All governmental power and functions in the United States rest within one of three branches: the legislative, judicial, and executive. Article 1 of the Constitution defines the legislative branch and vests power to legislate to the Congress of the United States. Article 2 defines the executive branch and vests power to the President. Article 3 places judicial power to one Supreme Court and to as many inferior courts as Congress deems necessary. For the legislative branch, Article 1 of the Constitution establishes the legislative or lawmaking branch of government with the formation of a bicameral Congress. This system provides checks and balances within the legislative branch. As with the overall structure, and after considerable debate, the framers elected to create two legislative Congresses within the legislative branch, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Within the legislative branch, there are federal agencies that lend support for the Congress. These include the Government Printing Office, the Library of Congress, the Congressional Budget Office, the Government Accountability Office, and the Architect of the Capitol. The judicial branch, Article 3 of the Constitution, established the judicial branch of government with the creation of the Supreme Court. This court is the highest court in the country and is vested with the judicial powers of the government. There are lower federal courts, but they were not created by the Constitution. Rather, Congress deemed them necessary and established them using power granted from the Constitution. Courts decide arguments about the meaning of laws, how they are applied, and whether they violate the Constitution. The latter power is known as judicial review, and it is this process that the judiciary uses to provide checks and balances on the legislative and executive branches. In the executive branch, Article 2 of the Constitution established the executive branch of the U.S. government, vesting power to the President of the United States, who also acts as head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The President is responsible for implementing and enforcing the laws written by Congress. The executive branch includes a hierarchy of positions. The President is the leader of the country and commander-in-chief. The second in command is the Vice President, who serves as President of the Senate and becomes President of the United States if the President is unable to serve. Next in line are the heads of departments, who comprise the cabinet, who appointed by and advise the President on policy issues and helps execute those policies. Lastly, like the legislative branch, there are several independent agencies that also help execute policy or provide special services. Unlike the powers of the President, the responsibilities the departments and independent agencies, they are not defined in the Constitution, but rather each has special powers and functions assigned by the President or the legislative branch. These departments and agencies have distinct missions and responsibilities. The list of the executive departments include the Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, Department of Defense, Department of Education, Department of Energy, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, the Department of State, Department of the Interior, Department of the Treasury, Department of Transportation, and the Department of Veteran Affairs. The number of independent agencies is too long to list here, but they are highly diverse as well. In this course, we will be focusing on federal agencies that have a strong environmental role in their responsibilities. The departments we will focus on include the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Defense, and the Department of the Interior. As you will learn, the agencies housed within each of these departments is as diverse as the executive branch itself. Before delving into these departments, we will first explore two of the many independent agencies, the Environmental Protection Agency and the Council on Environmental Office. The Constitution provided the plan for the three branches of government. The powers that each has comes from this document. The Constitution contains a preamble, articles, and amendments. The preamble states the goals and purposes of the government. The articles describe how the government is to be set up. Amendments are additions that have been added to the original document. The preamble contains 6 purposes of government, which are 1, forming a more perfect union so the states act in the good of all people. 2, establishing justice for citizens to be treated equally. 3, to help ensure domestic tranquility and to keep peace and order and keep citizens safe. 4, to provide common defense to make sure our military is ready to protect the country. 5, to promote general welfare for people to live happy, healthy, and prosperously. 6, to secure the blessings of liberty to guarantee basic rights to all people. The articles provide powers and responsibilities to the branches of the government, the legislative, executive, and judicial. When the Constitution was written, the authors knew the world would change. The document was kept simple to allow for the changes. The legislative branch was established by Article 1. It includes the House of Representatives and the Senate, and the two together are Congress. Congress can enact legislation, declare war, confirm or reject presidential appointments, and has investigative powers. There are 435 elected members to the House of Representatives. The Speaker of the House is the top-ranking elective and is third in line of succession to the presidency. The House can initiate revenue bills, impeach federal officials, and elect the president in case of a tie in the Electoral College. The Senate has 100 members. They serve 6-year terms. The vice president is the president of the Senate and can cast the vote to break a tie. The Senate confirms appointees of the president that need consent, and it ratifies treaties also. Legislation must pass both the House and the Senate to go to the president for signature. A veto by the president can be overridden if there is 2/3 majority of Congress. A bill will be introduced to Congress. It is referred to the appropriate committee for review. Committees are set up for specialized policy areas. The committee can accept, amend, or reject the bills. If moved forward, the bill is investigated. If approved, it is sent to the floor of the House or Senate. Then debate occurs. If the bill passes the House and Senate, it goes to the president for consideration. The president can sign or veto the bills. The judicial branch of government interprets laws and applies them to different cases. It also determines if the laws violate the Constitution. The process is called judicial review. It is considered to be a way to have checks and balances with the legislative and executive branches. The judicial branch is made of the Supreme Court and federal courts. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the U.S. It is made up of justices that are appointed by the president. There are 9 members. 6 of the 9 is the minimum that is required in the decision made by the court. If a decision results in a tie, the decision by the lower court will rule. The justices serve on the court until death, retirement, or removal. Federal courts have limited jurisdiction. They can hear the cases authorized by federal laws or cases with the U.S. Constitution. The federal government can only bring criminal prosecutions in federal court. Federal judges are selected by the president and are under advice and consent of the Senate. The executive branch carries out and enforces the laws. There are many members: the president, vice president, the cabinet, executive departments, independent agencies, boards, commissions, and committees. The president leads the country. They are the head of the state, the leader of the federal government, commander-in-chief of armed forces. The vice president supports the president and becomes president if he or she is not able to serve and complete their duties. The cabinet has members which are nominated by the president and are approved by the Senate, and they advise the president. Each executive department has an advisor. On this slide is a list of all the executive agencies, and each agency contains branches. Many of these are special concern for this course. All are important. Some of the big ones for this course are the Department of Agriculture, and its branches include Agricultural Research Service, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, Economic Research Service, Farm Service Agency, Forest Service, the National Agricultural Library, Natural Resources Conservation Service, and Rural Development. The Department of the Commerce includes the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the Census Bureau, the Internal Trade Administration, NOAA Fisheries, National Institute of Standards and Technology, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the National Ocean Service, the National Technical Information Service, the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, the National Weather Service, the Patent and Trademark Office. The Department of the Interior includes the Bureau of Land Management, the Bureau of Reclamation, Fish and Wildlife Service, Indian Affairs, the National Park Service, Office of Surface Mining, Reclamation and Enforcement, the U.S. Geological Survey. For this week, be sure to click on the assignments link in the course. The assignments link on the course will help you begin your work for the week. The assignments for week 1 are represented here, the U.S. presidents. You would want to click on the View Details, and under the View Details, read the instructions, read information that is required, and complete the assignment. You'll want to click on the Lessons link. Click Week 1. Review the lesson overview. Explore the reading and resources provided. Review the lesson and any associated links. Review the lesson review. This will also contain the assignments to complete. From there, click on your assignments link. Also note that you have a discussion board. These are found under the Forums link. Once you click on the Forums link, be sure to complete the Week 1 forum. Have a great week. Please message me through the message link if you have any questions.